Hollywood adored him for nearly 40 years, but now many people are turning their backs on Bill Murray. The stories coming out are shocking. He once threw an ashtray at Richard Dreyfuss during a heated moment. He reportedly made Lucy Liu cry on set. He even forced a kiss on a young woman without her consent while pinning her down. These incidents weren't just isolated mistakes, they were part of a long pattern of troubling behavior that people were afraid to speak about for decades. One of his movies, with a budget of $20 million, was completely shut down by Disney because of issues involving him. His best friend stopped speaking to him for 20 years. The truth is finally surfacing, and it's far worse than anyone could have guessed. Bill Murray was born on September 21, 1950, in Evanston, Illinois. His mother worked in a mailroom and his father sold lumber. Bill grew up in a lively, crowded house in Wilmette, a suburb of Chicago, with 8 siblings. The home was noisy and full of activity, which forced everyone to speak up just to be noticed. That chaotic environment may have helped shape his unique sense of humor. His family was Irish Catholic, with roots tracing back to County Cork and County Galway in Ireland. Family and faith played an important role in his upbringing. But life took a difficult turn when Bill was 17. His father passed away due to complications from diabetes. Losing his father was heartbreaking, especially because he was Bill's role model. As a teenager, Bill found comfort in books about American legends like Davy Crockett. To help with school expenses, he worked as a golf caddy. While working long hours on the golf course, he spent a lot of time observing people and their behavior. Those observations would later become a valuable part of his comedy. After finishing high school, Bill went to college in Denver to study pre-med. But he wasn't passionate about medicine. Before long, he dropped out and returned home. Interestingly, the same college that he left would later give him an honorary degree not for his studies, but for his cultural impact. Something serious happened around that time that could have changed his life completely. On his 20th birthday, Bill was arrested at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. He was trying to smuggle nearly 10 pounds of marijuana and jokingly told someone at the airport that he had a bomb in his bag. That joke led to a search and his arrest. Instead of going to jail, he got probation. But the experience was a wake-up call, a moment that made him rethink his life. Not long after, comedy entered the picture. His older brother, Brian Doyle Murray, was already involved in Chicago's comedy scene and invited Bill to join Second City, a legendary comedy group. Bill agreed, and that decision changed his life. At Second City, he trained under Del Close, a mentor who believed in being fearless, honest, and embracing the strange. Under Del's guidance, Bill developed his trademark deadpan style, being funny even during quiet moments. His approach to comedy was wild and unpredictable. One time, when a heckler got too aggressive, Bill reportedly broke the guy's arm, then bought him a beer and took him to the hospital. In 1974, Bill moved to New York and joined a radio comedy show called the National Lampoon Radio Hour, thanks to John Belushi. The show had a cast filled with future stars like Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, Chevy Chase, and Harold Ramis. Back then, they were just a group of unknown comedians trying to make each other laugh. This tight group would later become the heart of American comedy. Before Bill got onto NBC's Saturday Night Live, SNL, he had a short detour. He joined a different TV show called Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell on ABC. The show was hosted by a sports broadcaster with no comedy background, and it didn't last long. But the experience helped Bill gain confidence in front of the camera. In 1977, Bill finally joined NBC's SNL, replacing Chevy Chase. It was a tough role to fill, and the audience didn't warm up to him right away. Behind the scenes, tensions were high. When Chevy returned to host the show in 1978, he and Bill got into a physical fight just minutes before going on air. Bill called Chevy a medium talent. Still, he stayed on the show and went on to create unforgettable characters. One of his most famous was Nick the Lounge Singer, a cheesy performer who sang popular songs with funny made-up lyrics. His version of the Star Wars theme became a fan favorite. That character showed Bill's quirky charm, dry, silly, and somehow sincere at the same time. While on SNL, he formed a strong bond with Gilda Radner. They played nerdy teens in a recurring sketch and had a rocky but affectionate relationship off-screen. They often argued, sometimes in front of others, but they genuinely cared for each other. Bill once said no one could make him laugh like Gilda did. Her laughter was so intense that she'd sometimes run out of the room or even pee herself. Though their romance didn't last, her death years later hit Bill deeply, and he never forgot her. Bill won an Emmy for writing during his SNL years, which helped him break into Hollywood. He started getting lead roles in movies like Meatballs, Caddyshack, Stripes, and Ghostbusters. His laid-back, sarcastic humor stood out. His timing and character work sharpened during his time on SNL made him a star. Years later, he won another Emmy for a dramatic role and returned for SNL's 50th anniversary, where he sang again as Nick the Lounge Singer. Afterward, he admitted to crying several times while watching the tribute videos. That night reminded him of how it all began. His first big movie hit was Meatballs in 1979. Shot in Canada on a small budget, it surprised everyone by becoming a huge success. Audiences loved his sarcastic but charming performance, and it became one of Canada's biggest hits at the time. The film's director, Ivan Reitman, also got a boost from its success, and he and Bill would go on to work together again. Bill also teamed up with Harold Ramis, and together they created more comedy classics like Caddyshack, Stripes, and Ghostbusters. In 1984, Ghostbusters became a massive hit and cemented Bill's place as a comedy legend. That same year, Bill wanted to explore a different side of acting. He convinced the studio to fund a serious film called The Razor's Edge, in exchange for agreeing to do Ghostbusters. Unfortunately, The Razor's Edge flopped. Audiences didn't connect with it, and critics were divided. The disappointment hit Bill hard, and he stepped away from Hollywood. He traveled, studied, and spent time with his family, distancing himself from the spotlight. When he returned with Scrooged and Ghostbusters 2, the response was lukewarm. The 1990s brought more flops, and people started doubting whether he could still lead a successful movie. Feeling disconnected from the industry, Bill stopped working with agents or managers. He became hard to reach and only took roles that truly interested him. In 1990, he co-directed and starred in Quick Change, a smart comedy that critics liked, but it didn't do well at the box office. Then in 1993, Groundhog Day changed everything. The film was funny and deeply meaningful, telling the story of a man stuck reliving the same day. Behind the scenes, he and Harold Ramis clashed over the film's tone. Bill wanted it deeper and more thoughtful, while Ramis preferred a lighter feel. Their disagreement became so intense they didn't speak for over 20 years. Still, Bill's performance was widely praised, and the film became a beloved classic. After that, Bill began to take on more emotional and introspective roles. In Lost in Translation, he played a lonely actor in Japan, and the performance earned him an Oscar nomination. Then came Rushmore in 1998, directed by a young filmmaker named Wes Anderson. That movie marked another turning point. Bill believed so much in the project that he only took $9,000 for the role. His performance was subtle, emotional, and deeply human. Wes Anderson and Bill Murray developed a strong creative bond. Together, they worked on The Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and many others. Each role showed a new side of Bill, more broken, more sincere, more real. He became one of Anderson's favorite actors and appeared in 10 of his films over 2 decades. He didn't need much direction anymore. When Wes moved into animation with Isle of Dogs, Bill didn't hesitate to join in. Through all the ups and downs, Bill Murray's journey has been unpredictable. He's made people laugh, pushed boundaries, and shown vulnerability on screen. But now, as painful stories from his past emerge, his legacy is being re-examined. For some, he'll always be a genius of comedy. For others, he's a man whose behavior caused real harm. The truth, it seems, is much more complicated than anyone imagined. When he joined a project just to provide his voice, he brought the same energy and unique tone that made their live-action films stand out. So when Wes Anderson started working on a new film in 2024, Bill Murray didn't even ask for the plot, he joined immediately. Their creative chemistry had always drawn attention. After Rushmore, Murray won Best Supporting Actor at the Independent Spirit Awards, and critics across the country recognized his performance. He even received a Golden Globe nomination. Years later, Rushmore was selected for preservation by the Library of Congress, proving the lasting impact it had. Critics noticed something new in his performance, something special. One said Anderson was smart not to make the film too emotional, while another admired the heart Murray brought to the role, even while keeping it quirky and sharp. Together, Anderson and Murray changed the direction of each other's careers. Anderson became known as a truly unique director, and Murray transformed from a comedian into a respected actor capable of making people laugh and cry at the same time. Bill Murray had built a name for himself as the funny guy in hits like Ghostbusters and Groundhog Day, but everything shifted in 2003. That's when he played a quiet, deeply emotional role in Lost in Translation. He portrayed Bob Harris, an aging actor stuck in Tokyo, filming whiskey commercials while quietly struggling with his life and choices. In a strange and lonely city, he met someone who understood him. The movie didn't rely on big scenes or loud jokes, it was about quiet, subtle moments, thoughtful glances, and the feeling of being lost not just in a foreign place, but within yourself. Despite being made on a small budget, the film became a massive success. Critics praised Murray's performance, noting how much he expressed without needing to say much. A pause, a glance, or a sigh spoke volumes. It was a completely different kind of role for him, and that's what made it so powerful. This role brought him his first and only Oscar nomination for Best Actor. As awards season went on, Murray seemed like the clear favorite. He won the Golden Globe. He won the BAFTA. He won over critics. Everyone expected him to win the Oscar. But on the big night, the award went to Sean Penn for Mystic River. Murray later admitted that he was surprised. He had won so many awards that he thought the Oscar was his too. Looking back, he said the loss taught him something important: how easy it is to start wanting more, even when you think you don't care about awards. That night reminded him not to focus on trophies but on what really matters. Even without the Oscar, Murray didn't slow down. He kept choosing roles that meant something to him, roles that weren't about money or fame. In Broken Flowers, he played a man who gets a mysterious letter suggesting he might have a son, which sends him on a quiet, emotional journey. In St. Vincent, he played a grumpy old man who unexpectedly becomes a hero in a young boy's life. These roles were different, but they all showed how deep and human Murray could be, even when playing someone rough around the edges. He mostly worked with directors who understood how to use his unique style, people like Wes Anderson and Jim Jarmusch. They saw what others had missed, that Murray wasn't just funny, he was real. In 2014, Murray surprised everyone by returning to television. He appeared in Olive Kitteridge, a quiet HBO miniseries. His role as a widower trying to connect with someone new didn't last long on screen, but it left a big impact. It was so well received that he won an Emmy. For someone who started on Saturday Night Live and had moved far away from TV, this moment felt like he had come full circle. But now, the audience saw him differently, as someone wiser, deeper, and more respected. Part of what makes Murray so fascinating today isn't just the roles he plays, it's how he chooses them. He doesn't have a manager or an agent. He doesn't follow the usual Hollywood rules. If a director wants him in a movie, they have to find a secret phone number, leave a voicemail, and hope he checks it. He might call back next week or never. Some directors have missed the chance to cast him because they couldn't reach him in time. But for Murray, that's the whole point. He doesn't want to be chased, he wants to be intrigued. He once joked that if your script is good enough, you'll find a way to get it to him. This is how he stays in control, by keeping the world at a distance and only stepping into it when something truly speaks to him. It's not about being difficult. It's about protecting what really matters: the work, the meaning behind it, and the freedom to say no. Bill Murray may have started out as the funny guy with a quick punchline, but now he's something else entirely. He's become a symbol of what it means to grow, take risks, and deeply care about the stories you tell. Over time, he has become more than just a movie star, he's become a kind of legend. Not only for the characters he plays on screen but also for the strange and hilarious ways he appears in real life, touches people's lives, and then vanishes like nothing happened. One of the most famous stories comes from around 2010 in Times Square. A man was eating McDonald's fries when Bill Murray suddenly appeared, took 2 fries without asking, and said, "No one will ever believe you." Then he walked away. That line became his signature during such unexpected moments. He'd cover someone's eyes from behind or show up out of nowhere, say that phrase, and disappear. It felt like he was part of a private joke the rest of the world only hears secondhand. But behind the scenes, not everyone has had a good experience with Murray. Some people describe him as funny and brilliant, while others say he's difficult and even aggressive. One of the most shocking stories came from Richard Dreyfuss during the filming of What About Bob in 1991. Dreyfuss said that one night he gave Murray a script revision. Murray, who had been drinking, got in his face and screamed, "Everyone hates you. You are tolerated." Then, according to Dreyfuss, he picked up a heavy glass ashtray and threw it at him, but missed. Murray later denied throwing it at Dreyfuss, claiming he threw it at the ceiling instead. But the film's producer, Laura Ziskin, supported Dreyfuss's version. She said Murray broke her sunglasses once, threatened to throw her across a parking lot, and even pushed her into a lake. Lucy Liu also shared her experience from the set of Charlie's Angels in 2000. She said Murray used insulting and unacceptable language toward her. The incident happened after Murray rewrote parts of the script and handed it out without informing anyone. Liu told him it wasn't his job to do that. In response, Murray allegedly belittled her by saying something like, "I gave you more lines, look who you're with. Your TV. This is the big league." Liu stood up for herself and swore back at him. After that, Murray didn't return for the sequel. Years later, Drew Barrymore praised Liu for refusing to be disrespected. Gina Davis also had a disturbing encounter while working with Murray on Quick Change in 1990. She said he screamed at her in front of a crowd because she arrived late. She also described an uncomfortable audition moment when Murray brought out a massage device called the Thumper and insisted on using it on her. She refused several times, but he kept pushing. No one in the room stopped him. Later, during an appearance on the Arsenio Hall show, Murray touched her arm on air and tried to pull down her dress strap. At the time, she laughed it off, but years later, she called the experience awful. In 2025, when asked about these stories, Murray said they were outrageous and claimed people were trying to make him look like a monster. But one of the longest and most heartbreaking stories involved his falling out with Harold Ramis. They were close friends and collaborators, making classics like Ghostbusters and Stripes together. But during the filming of Groundhog Day, they had a huge argument about the film's tone. Murray wanted it serious and thoughtful, Ramis wanted it light and funny. The fight became so intense that Ramis once grabbed Murray by the collar and pushed him against a wall, which was very unlike him. After that, they didn't speak for 20 years. Murray would call him late at night, argue, and then vanish. Ramis was deeply hurt. They only reconnected shortly before Ramis passed away in 2014. Then, in 2022, another serious incident took place while Murray was filming Being Mortal, directed by Aziz Ansari. According to reports, Murray got physically close with a much younger female crew member near a prop bed. He climbed on top of her and kissed her through their COVID masks. She said she was terrified and couldn't move because of his weight. Another crew member witnessed it and also filed a complaint. The studio shut the entire production down. The film was never finished. In a 2025 interview, Murray shared his side. He claimed he thought it was a joke. He said he had done the mask kiss before and people had laughed. He said the woman wasn't a stranger, they'd had lunch together a few times. He didn't think it was serious. Even now, he says it still seems silly to him, but he admits he thinks about it often. At the same time, he feels he was treated unfairly and heavily criticized in the press. Eventually, Murray settled with the woman for over $100,000. But the damage was already done. The film was cancelled, and the cast and crew lost their chance to finish something they had worked hard on. Millions of dollars and years of planning were lost. Even now, Murray insists the situation was misunderstood. He blamed what he called pre-existing conditions but never explained what he meant. He also criticized Disney's strict rules, saying they were harsher than those of most countries. Some people saw this as him avoiding responsibility, while others believed it showed he still didn't fully understand the harm his actions had caused.